A man is hired to murder his best friend the night that he is released from prison. This is Stand Up Guys.
So I kind of missed you.
Missed you too.
That just get weird?
Yes. This is my best friend. Just got back from a long trip.
Let's just drop the welcome home thing.
Kill him by 10 o'clock in the a.m. or you're dead too.
Now, for me, Stand Up Guys kind of felt like Superbad for old people. Because instead of 3 teenage kids going out in the town and getting into all these crazy, wacky, goofy adventures, it was 3 old men going out in town and getting into all these crazy, wacky, goofy adventures. Now, obviously, there's a lot more to Stand Up Guys than that, but overall, I was not super pleased with this film. I thought it had a really weak plot, and the only thing that really kind of saved it for me was Christopher Walken, Al Pacino, and Alan Arkin, and just them kind of having fun. I thought they did a really good job. So getting into the plot of this movie, I thought it had a really good idea, the fact that Christopher Walken had to kill his best friend, Al Pacino. But unfortunately, the film doesn't really develop from there. The plot doesn't really advance much from the idea that Christopher Walken has to kill Al Pacino. In the middle 45 minutes of the movie, they get into a bunch of these kind of goofy adventures, but they don't have any long-term effect on the rest of the movie. It doesn't advance the story much. It doesn't really do anything, like, worthwhile. It's just kind of there for fun, I guess, even though it's not that fun. Basically, you can miss the whole middle of the movie, watch the very first, beginning part, know the setup, leave for, the whole middle of the movie, come back for the end, and you'd be perfectly fine. You wouldn't miss a single thing. I thought there were way too many tones in this movie. It tries to be funny, sweet, charming, sad, uplifting, and it doesn't really all go together very well. It'll be funny one second, and then the next you're supposed to be sad, and then the next there's some action, and it just doesn't really fit. It feels very jarring. The tonal shifts are very jarring. I definitely felt them. I was like, oh, here's another tone. Oh, here's another one. They didn't swell and be all smooth together. As far as the humor goes, I thought there were way too many penis jokes. There's a good half-hour segment in this movie where it's just nothing but penis jokes. And while I love penis jokes as much as the next guy, they can be done wrong and they can be overused. And that's kind of what happens here. There are some funny parts in that segment of penis jokes. I laughed, but it gets to a point where you're just okay, do they have anything funnier than talking about penises? I guess not. I will say that I feel like if I was older, if I was in my 50s or 60s, I would be laughing and having the biggest hoot of my life, because there's some moments where the old men are talking about, oh, how does this car start? You gotta push this button. Oh, this old-fangled technology. And it was more they were kind of making fun of the generation. They weren't really making fun of the generation, but it just felt like humor that old people could relate to more than young people. So if you're really old, you might love this movie. But coming from me, who is not really old, I didn't really think the humor was that good. But at the same time, it wasn't necessarily aimed at me. So it's hard to judge. I will say that the one thing I really liked about this movie was the banter between Christopher Walken, Al Pacino, and Alan Arkin. I could tell they were having a great time, and they didn't really give great performances, really, but they were just having fun. And I loved them, talking and being mean to each other, and that was funny. The way they delivered some of their lines was funny. And that really kind of brought it up quite a bit for me, because if it wasn't for the 3 of them, this movie could have been really bad. But they definitely did a good job. So those are my thoughts on Stand Up Guys. I'm going to end up giving it 2 stars out of 4. It's nothing special. It just kind of ends up being okay, but it's not bad either. Al Pacino and Christopher Walken and Alan Arkin, they do a really good job. So, I wasn't totally upset that I saw it, but it was just kind of inconsequential, and it didn't feel like I had seen anything great. So let me know what you thought of Stand Up Guys. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you young? Are you old? I'm actually really curious to see what different age groups thought of this movie, because I actually saw it with someone who's my own age and she loved it. But I didn't. So maybe it was just me, maybe the majority of young people won't like it. I really feel like old people would like this movie a lot more than young people. And that's not saying that old people have bad taste in movies. There's just some movies that are more geared toward an elderly audience. So let me know what you thought of that. Remember, you can always rate and comment and subscribe. Feels kind of redundant to say because if you're on YouTube, I feel like you should know that. But I'm just going to tell you anyway because I would love to see a rating, comment, and subscribing from you. And I would also love if you followed me on Twitter. The link will be down in the info. And that was Stand Up Guys.